Like and subscribe today.
Thank you for joining me on Forecasting with Friends. I'm Fox 26 meteorologist Remeisha Shade. This weekend is a special weekend. It's going to be a tax-free weekend, not for back-to-school shopping. This one is in preparation for the upcoming hurricane season, which, by the way, is getting closer and closer. It does start on June 1st and ends on November 30th. So this weekend is a great time to stock up on supplies for natural disasters. Why? Well, there are going to be many emergency preparation supplies that you will be able to purchase tax-free. Of course, you want to try to save where you can with prices on just about everything going up. So it's a great time to go ahead and start trying to prepare yourselves, prepare your families for the hurricane season. It actually begins at 12:01 a.m. on Saturday and ends at midnight on Monday. So take advantage if you can, because there will be several items that will be tax-free this weekend. So once again, this is the Emergency Preparation Supplies Sales Tax Holiday Weekend from April 26th until April 28th. Now, let's break down some of the discounts that you can get. Of course, if a hurricane hits, your power is out for days, what's the one thing you really want to have? A generator. So portable generators will actually be included in this sales tax holiday weekend. Not all of them, not the most expensive ones, but as long as it's less than $3,000, you can get that tax-free for this weekend. Hurricane shutters less than $300 are also included. We've got batteries on this list that will be tax-free this weekend. Carbon monoxide detectors, we all know how important those are. Candles, flashlights, lanterns, all great things to have if you have to deal with the power outage short term or even longer term during the hurricane season. Second list shows first aid kits will be included in that tax-free holiday weekend. Fuel containers, radios, very important to have, smoke detectors, fire extinguishers, and tarps in case you get some damage to the roof. So these things will be tax-free for this weekend, and it is a great idea to head out if you're able to and try to snatch up as many of those as you can, because of course you know it only takes one storm to make it a busy hurricane season and to bring you potential trouble. And of course we are getting closer and closer to the start of that hurricane season. We've almost made it to May. Of course, May 1st will be 1 month away, and then June 1st, hurricane season will be here. So let's talk about some of the emergency preparedness supplies you need to have. These are critical when you're talking about dealing with the aftermath of a hurricane and actually going through the hurricane. So you want to make sure you have batteries on hand. Make sure you have food, particularly non-perishable food items in case your power goes out. And all of the things in your refrigerator start to spoil. You need to make sure you can still have something to snack on until that power is restored. Pet supplies, a great thing to have for your emergency supplies. Extra cash. Who doesn't want that? Make sure you have some of that for storm preparedness. A gas can, a good idea. Phone charger, always great to have a way to charge all of your tech. Extra house and car keys, a good idea. Medications and medical items, you may want to have an extra supply of that just in case you can't get to the store to pick up more after a hurricane. Sanitation items, first aid kits, personal documents, and also a great idea to have that bottled water and plenty of it when you're talking about these big time storm situations, especially hurricanes. Now, like I said, we are getting closer to the 2025 hurricane season, and the storm names that will be used for this season have already been released, and they range from Andrea all the way to Wendy. So we got Andrea, Barry, Chantal, Dexter, Aaron, Fernand, Gabrielle, Umberto, Imelda, Jerry, Karen, Lorenzo, Melissa, Nestor, Olga, Pablo, Rebecca, Sebastian, Tanya, Van, and Wendy. Now, my hope is that we don't have to use any of these, but chances are we are likely going to have some named storms that turn, of course, into tropical storms, hurricanes, and we likely will even have a few major hurricanes. So, of course, this is the list that those names will come from. So we will, of course, be monitoring the tropics day by day, closely looking to see if anything is popping up, but we likely won't start to see that action until closer to the beginning of hurricane season. Now, What does Colorado State University think as far as the upcoming hurricane season? Well, they have released their first official forecast for the upcoming season, and this is the 2025 Colorado State University prediction at this time. Now, during hurricane season, they will actually come out with a couple of updates as we go through the season, but for now, preseason, they are predicting 17 named storms, 9 hurricanes, and out of those, likely 4 becoming major hurricanes. How does that compare to last season, 2024 season? Well, we ended up with 18 named storms, 11 hurricanes, and 5 major hurricanes. So they're predicting that this season will be busy, a little busier than average, but not quite as busy as last season. But like I said, it only takes one hitting your house to make it a bad hurricane season. Our average number of named storms from about 1991 to 2020, 14. Out of those, average number of hurricanes per season, about 7, and about 3 of those on average become major hurricanes. Now, let's quickly look back to last hurricane season where we did have a hurricane hit the Houston area. Remember Hurricane Beryl? How could you forget? It caused a lot of damage, a lot of flooding, a lot of structural damage. A lot of those tarps and generators were needed during the aftermath of Beryl in and around Houston. Of course, this happened around July 8th, 2024. Peak intensity before it hit Houston, 165 mile per hour winds. But when it made it to the Houston area, it did make landfall in southeast Texas as a Category 1, and it produced 67 tornadoes over a 3-day span across the eastern U.S. So that was a bad one, but we are hoping we can escape being hit directly by a tropical storm or hurricane this season. However, we always want to be prepared. Now, let's look ahead to the first month of hurricane season, of course, which is June, and typically things don't really get going until usually August, September, but there is a possibility to get some named storms, maybe a tropical storm or hurricane in June. Usually the Gulf and the Atlantic seaboard are typical locations through which named storms will start to develop and move into our area. So the Gulf and the eastern seaboard, or the eastern section of the U.S., the western Atlantic, will be areas that we will be watching closely, that will have a slightly higher shot for some development for the month of June. But like I said, overall, the risk for June is low. However, we are keeping a close eye on it for the beginning of the season and throughout the entire hurricane season. But once again, make sure you take advantage of the emergency preparedness supplies sales tax holiday weekend coming up April 26th through April 28th.